Today's story is about a man who as a child became a liar, later to a pathological liar, a thief, then a larcenist, to slaughterer or a thug. Today's story took place in Egypt. A person named Mahmoud Amin Suleiman became a legend during the 20th century in the 1960s. He made the world around him so crazy that even Najib Mahfouz, who is a famous writer, wrote a novel on his story. Later, the novel was turned into a movie. Now, what's Mahmoud's story? Mahmoud's father, during the 1920s, immigrated from Egypt to Lebanon. And then he got married to a Lebanese woman. He was blessed with 5 girls and 3 boys. Mahmoud was the eldest and the rebellious one. The first crime he committed was actually in his father's shop. His father had a business. It was of a shipping. It was a shipping company which used to trade fruits and vegetables. So he started from there. When his father during this period noticed this, he called him and he said that, maybe he's a kid and I need to guide him. So he started guiding him that what was right and wrong. But still, after this crime, the next crime he did was actually the shop or the business close to his father's business. And then later he started, stealing other goods like stuff in the house, his mother's gold, etc. By now, Mahmoud became a natural. It was not easy to actually catch him if he steals or even know who has done such a thing. He became very good at climbing and getting out easily. He was just 7 years old. But later he decided to actually steal something from the warehouse. It was like he was challenging himself. He got into the warehouse, which was belonging to the British Army and was present in Lebanon. He got in the warehouse and stole 3 rifles and came out. The police here did catch him and arrested him. He was sent to prison. But later when they found out that he was only 8 years old, here they called the father and they were saying that this is something which is impossible. He was very quick and very, I would say, aware of what he was doing. That didn't sound right. But they said that this time we're going to release him, but later it wouldn't happen. We would arrest him and send him to prison for a long time. The father here said, of course, I'll take care of him. But Mahmoud, when he was in the prison during the time period, which was very short, he made friends, which were also, I would say, he was 8, so it was about the age of, they were also children. And they made plans and things together that they will be doing, a list of things that they will be doing with each other. Again, it sounds wrong. He was just 8 years old. They did as planned and started stealing from houses of very famous people. Later, Mahmoud thought that he would end the stealing with a big one, and he became the leader and started guiding the other kids of what they were about to do next. They decided to rob the house of Kamil Shamoun. Who was Kamil Shamoun? Kamil was the minister. He became the minister for 7 times. Once he was the Minister of Finance, Minister of Interior, Minister of Post or whatever, but he was like the highest authority. So it was a huge deal to get into his house. He at that time was not present in the country itself, but he did have guards surrounding his house. Mahmoud was able to climb into the house or get into the house and open the doors for his friends. Now, as they entered, one of the guards noticed that the boys were entering this house. The time right now, they were like the teenagers entering the house. So he went to catch him. He wanted to catch him, but the boy here was holding a rifle and he shot the man down. The man was dead. They got into the house and stole whatever they could and immediately escaped from the place. When they escaped, the police started searching for them, and this time it was serious. There was a person who died on spot. So they started searching for them. They arrested them. And they were sent, these boys, these teenagers were sent to life imprisonment. It was no joke. Even if Mahmoud didn't kill the man, he was still the leader of the gang. So he was the one also responsible. Now his father's reaction towards his son's act was very shocking. After what Mahmoud has done, his father sold everything he had in Lebanon and went to Egypt. His father was a very respectable man. He was self-educated, self-made, and he had to do this in order to live a peaceful life after what his son had done to him. Mahmud literally distorted his father's reputation. After what had happened when the father left, I would say after years passed by, the situation in Lebanon got bad. And it was that bad, the criminals from the prisons started escaping. One of the people who escaped was Mahmoud himself. He went back to his house. There he found out that his father has left before years. And he decided to actually escape again to Egypt. Upon reaching, Mahmoud found out that his father passed away. As he was the eldest brother, he sold whatever his father had. His father was quite rich and wealthy, and he distributed the wealth. What he did was, with his help, was that he bought a publishing house. His next project was the publishing house. But to just remind you that this person by now had an experience, quite a good one, in stealing or doing crimes. So it was not easy for him to give up under any circumstances. He then became, or his publishing house became, the official sponsor for publishing and media house in Egypt. The reason he opened this publishing house was to cover his criminal history and for the crimes which are yet to be committed by him. His publishing house, which was in Egypt, in Cairo to be specific, was a means to carry out criminal operations and other thefts. By now, I would say, Mahmoud was, people thought that he was an intellectual, he was a well-known person by now. So the next robbery he was about to commit was, or the next crime, was in one of the famed and popular poets, Ahmed Shawqi's house. And his house was actually, I would say, more of a museum. This person was very famous. He passed away and he left, lots of historical things which belonged to him and his family. So he went in, he got a palm tree, which was, I would say, a golden palm tree given as a gift to Ahmed Shawqi by one of the heads of states for writing a poetry or something. Now he took this palm tree, which was gold and made of gold, and broke it into pieces and sold them into the market. And this way he started robbing other houses of famous people. He also robbed the house of one of the famous singers at that time, Kulthum, and one of the richest men in Egypt, owner of a textile industry. Now, or by now, he had maybe robbed millions and he was quite rich. But that didn't really matter, and it was hard for the police to actually detect who the criminal was. Why? Because this man already owned a company, or I would say had a media house. So it was impossible that this person who is the head of or the owner of a publisher media would go and rob houses of people, rich people, and that he had good relations with them already. Now, to actually cover up himself in a proper way, he had to get married to sound as if he's a normal rich person here. So he got married to Awatif, and the marriage didn't lasted for more than 2 days. And then he got married to Nawal. Nawal was actually engaged to another person or another trader, a businessman. But he was able to seduce her by showing that he was financially fit, and she cancelled her engagement and got married to this man. Later, he also proposed a person or a lady who was from a European country. Her name was Bella. He thought that she was rich as she was wearing, I would say, she was covered up with gold and diamonds, and by her look, it seemed that she was also very rich, and this was his goal. He approached to her and he convinced her, and she agreed to get married. When they got married, he found out that whatever she owned was fake. Diamonds and whatever she had or she claimed was all a lie. He divorced her later, but this woman didn't give up. She was like, something's wrong with this man, and wanted to know more, dig deeper to find out who he really was. She did find out that he was a very well-known criminal. When she got the idea that her ex-husband Mahmoud was actually involved in several crimes, and one of them was robbing the house and or the crime that took place in the house of the minister in Lebanon, Bella was able to give the information to the, I would say, higher security or investigators or whom it may concern. And then her ex-husband Mahmoud got arrested. And that was her aim, and she was done. When Mahmoud got arrested, he hired one of the famous lawyers named Badruddin, and he did know Badruddin before. So he asked him that do whatever you can and I'll pay you whatever you want and make you one of the richest men in Egypt. The only thing you have to do is get me out of here. So Badruddin did promise him, and he said, and Mahmoud said that if you need anything whatsoever, just go to my wife, Nawal, and ask for the amount of money you need, and she will give it to you. Now, when Mahmoud asked Badruddin to spend whatever he wanted to, was actually to give bribe to the people involved to get him out or to release him as soon as possible. But here, 1 to 2 years passed by and there was nothing. From Badruddin's side, there were only promises. On the other hand, Badruddin was able to convince Mahmoud's wife to help him out. Mahmoud, being in the prison, was unable to do anything. But here these two were spending the money or the opportunity to spend the wealth and the fortune the way they wanted. Mahmoud not being there actually evoked the rapacity and greed in them. Now he was furious and angry, and he knew whatever was going on. So he decided to escape from the prison. Now this time the prison breakout was not easy, but he managed to do so by giving money here and there and spending again his fortune on these things until he was almost out of whatever he could get. When he escaped, he immediately went to one of the weapon dealers, and then he was able to buy weapons. He took the weapon and went straight away to his wife. He shot his wife, he killed his wife, and then he found that the sister of his wife is also present, so he had to kill her too. When he found out that there were other house workers who were the witnesses, we would say, to this crime, he killed them as they were the witnesses. So he actually, whoever came in his path was dead by now. He then went to Badruddin's house, and there he killed Badruddin and the workers thereafter. When he got rid of all these people, his next plan was to get rid of the people and get his money back from the other people, that are Bella and the other businessmen who were involved in him being arrested. He did create a gang from scratch now that he had money. He was actually a reason for the horror created in Cairo. People were really scared and petrified. The police and the social media announced that a raging killer is out there, and everyone was in horror and petrified. This man, from being just a thief, became a serial killer. Any house he used to enter to actually rob, he used to kill whoever was there. He didn't actually care this time. So he actually started collecting money and spending it on making a new gang, which was involved with lots of killers from here and there. Now, I said there was immense terror in Cairo by now. And the place he was hiding whenever he used to rob or kill people, he used to go and hide in one of the caves. It was now important to actually build up a huge security squad to get rid of him and his gang. So they hired one of the best men they could to get rid of him or to arrest him. They appointed Safwat, who was the first lieutenant, because he was very smart. Now this person was the head of the squad which will be attacking the other criminals, including Mahmoud, who was the head of the criminals. Now when they surrounded the mountain, they were actually holding huge machine guns and equipments, I would say weapons. They surrounded the mountain when Mahmoud and his gang were hiding. They were able to kill all the members of the gang very easily. As I said before, this gang was the reason of terror. They were involved in killing, drug dealing, stealing, whatever crime would exist, they were involved in it. So it was very hard or very difficult, but at the same time very important to get rid of them. So here, as I said, they got rid of all the members except Mahmoud himself, who was hiding in the cave. Now, Lieutenant Safwat was able to get near the cave close enough to actually talk to Mahmoud. Here he said, Mahmoud, I want you to surrender yourself. But Mahmoud said, I would rather die, but I would never surrender myself. So Safwat decided to get whatever protection he could, and he said that I want to enter the cave all alone. Firstly, he wanted to get him alive to actually show that he could, get a criminal who was like wanted right now all alone. But he was not able to, so he took his protection and got into the cave, and he said, no one will enter, either it's me or it's Mahmoud. Safwat entered the cave, and then there were exchange of fires across fire, and Mahmoud actually was already bleeding or already shot into his legs 7 times. He was not that able to get into the fight, but he did, and he lost the fight. He died. Safwat was able to kill Mahmoud, and he then dragged his body out of the cave. And here is how the story of Mahmoud the Thug ended. Thank you for listening.